I'm an old man now, and over the many decades I've walked this earth, I've come to notice something that most folks don't really see clearly until it's far too late. Life has a way of teaching us lessons through quiet observation, through the slow fading of connections we once took for granted. As the years pile up, we develop certain habits, subtle ones, almost invisible to our own eyes at first, that begin to create distance between us and the people we hold dear. These aren't born from malice or a lack of love for our families and friends. No, not at all. They're often just overlooked patterns that settle in over time. And sadly, no one around us usually has the courage or the heart to point them out directly. That's precisely why I feel compelled to speak openly today about these 13 ugly habits in old age that quietly make people start avoiding you, even though they're too polite or uncomfortable to tell you straight to your face. Let me begin with the first habit, which is constant complaining. Listen closely, my friends, because I understand how life grows heavier with each passing season. My knees creak loudly every single morning as a sharp reminder, and my back protests every night when I try to find rest. The world spins faster than we ever imagined possible in our younger days, and it often feels as though so many things we once held tightly are slipping right through our fingers like fine sand. Yet, when nearly every single word that leaves your lips revolves around what aches, what's gone wrong, what's unfair in this life, or how everything seems stacked against you, people start feeling exhausted even before the conversation truly gets underway. I had a dear old friend once we used to catch up faithfully every Sunday afternoon. He was a genuinely good soul with a kind heart. But gradually, each phone call transformed into an endless catalog of grievances. The unpredictable weather, the chaotic state of politics, the noisy neighbors next door, even the smallest issues with his digestion. One quiet day, I caught myself hesitating before answering his call. It wasn't that I didn't care about him deeply. I simply knew the emotional weight that would follow, leaving me feeling utterly drained and heavy-hearted afterward. That realization made me turn inward and ask myself a truly difficult question. Have I unknowingly become that same kind of person? Complaining can feel like a necessary release of built-up pressure in the moment, a way to lighten our own load. But when it slowly becomes your primary way of communicating with the world, it pushes good people away in the gentlest yet most persistent manner possible, like a slow tide eroding the shore. The second habit, closely tied to the first, but deserving its own focus, is talking only about your illnesses and physical ailments. Of course, at our advanced stage in life, our bodies carry their share of troubles and limitations. If you don't have any, consider yourself extraordinarily blessed, or perhaps not fully attuned to the signals. However, if almost every interaction quickly shifts into a detailed medical report listing symptoms, doctor visits, medications, and discomforts, people begin to sense they're stepping into a clinic rather than enjoying warm human connection. I recall a wonderful woman I knew years ago. She possessed such a sharp, lively mind and a wonderful sense of humor that could light up any room. But over time, her conversations narrowed almost exclusively to her health challenges. Her grandchildren would still come to visit out of love and duty, but their stays grew shorter and shorter. They didn't linger for long chats or shared laughter anymore. It wasn't because their affection had vanished, but because the atmosphere lacked any real lightness or joy. We are all so much more than our pains and limitations. When we forget to remind others and ourselves of that fuller truth, they too begin to see us primarily through the lens of our struggles. Third comes the habit of being overly opinionated, which can be especially tricky because it often masquerades as hard-earned wisdom. We've accumulated decades of experience, witnessed countless events, and naturally believe we grasp how the world truly functions. Yet when nearly every exchange turns into corrections, lengthy lectures, or quick judgments on others' choices, people gradually stop confiding in you or seeking your company. I learned this painful lesson personally with my own son. He shared something straightforward about his approach to raising his children, and without thinking, I jumped in with my views, telling him exactly what he ought to do differently. I genuinely thought I was offering helpful guidance from my years of fatherhood. What he experienced, however, was a profound sense that I didn't fully respect his decisions or his capabilities as a parent. Over time, he shared less and less. The bridge of open communication weakened not because he had nothing valuable to say, but because he wished to avoid feeling constantly evaluated. There exists a meaningful distinction between generously offering wisdom when it's welcomed and forcefully imposing it upon others. Failing to recognize that line can leave you speaking often while truly hearing very little in return from those around you. The fourth habit is giving unsolicited advice, which frequently walks side by side with the previous one. Even without intending judgment, we sometimes insert ourselves into situations where we haven't been invited. You hear about someone's difficulty, and right away your mind races to provide solutions based on your own past experiences. You think to yourself, I've walked this path before, I know precisely what needs to be done. But more often than not, what people truly crave in those vulnerable moments is simply to feel deeply heard and understood, not immediately fixed. My daughter once opened up to me about a particularly stressful day at work. Before she could even complete her thoughts, I was already outlining steps, suggestions, and improvements. She fell silent. Later, she shared words that have stayed with me ever since. Dad, I didn't come to you needing fixing. I just needed you to listen. That insight struck deep. Advice holds real value, absolutely, but only when it's genuinely requested. Otherwise, it can land like veiled criticism disguised in helpful clothing. Fifth is the habit of criticizing younger generations, something as ancient as humanity itself. Every era looks upon the next with a shake of the head and furrowed brows. Their music blasts too loudly, their daily habits seem bizarre, and their values appear worlds apart from our own. Yet we often forget that previous generations leveled the exact same critiques at us in our youth. When young people hear nothing but disapproval and head shaking from you, they rarely push back in argument. Instead, they quietly create distance to protect their spirits. I noticed this pattern clearly with my energetic grandson. He brimmed with life and ideas, but every time I highlighted what he was doing incorrectly, his screen time, his manner of speaking, or his style of dress, he grew more reserved and distant around me. It wasn't respect that caused his withdrawal. It was self-protection, so I made a conscious shift. I began highlighting what impressed me: his creativity, his confidence, and his unique perspective. Gradually, he opened up again, not through force, but because I created a safe space for him to simply be himself without constant correction. The sixth habit involves living too deeply in the past. Our memories are treasures, no question about it. I could easily spend hours recounting tales of how life used to unfold in simpler times, and those stories can bring genuine beauty and warmth. However, when conversations consistently drift backward instead of engaging with the here and now, you risk losing touch with the living present. The people who matter most are navigating their lives today, not decades ago. They yearn to share their current realities, dreams, and challenges with you. One afternoon, my granddaughter eagerly tried showing me an exciting discovery on her phone. I interrupted with a lengthy tale from my own early years. She offered a polite smile, but I watched the spark in her eyes dim. That moment belonged to her joy, and I had unintentionally taken it away. Since then, I've made it a point to ask far more questions than I provide answers. This keeps me vibrantly connected and continuously learning from the younger hearts around me. Seventh is neglecting personal hygiene and appearance. A sensitive topic many avoid discussing openly, yet one that everyone quietly observes. As vitality naturally diminishes with age, daily routines can loosen, and the motivation to maintain our former standards sometimes fades. This isn't merely about superficial vanity. It's fundamentally about respect for yourself, and for those who choose to spend their precious time in your presence. Years ago, I visited an old acquaintance, a man with a truly kind soul. His home carried a stale, neglected scent. His clothes appeared unwashed, and his hair was unkempt. I stayed for a while out of friendship, listening attentively, but I couldn't bring myself to linger. I felt guilty afterward, yet the discomfort was real. People may never voice it aloud, but they sense these details profoundly. Small efforts toward cleanliness and care signal that you still value yourself and your relationships, making others more at ease drawing closer. The eighth habit is gossiping and meddling in other people's affairs. When our own worlds contract, as they often do later in life, it becomes tempting to focus excessively on the dramas unfolding around us. Who said what to whom? Whose relationship seems troubled? Which children aren't visiting enough? It might feel innocent or even entertaining initially. Over time, however, it erodes trust at its foundation. Listeners may smile and engage, but they start wondering what stories you tell about them behind closed doors. Meddling goes even further, inserting yourself into matters that aren't yours, offering unasked opinions, or attempting to orchestrate outcomes in others' lives. I once knew a well-meaning woman who involved herself deeply in her son's marriage, taking sides and pushing advice relentlessly. Though her intentions were pure, it created lasting fractures. Good intentions alone aren't sufficient. True wisdom often lies in knowing when to remain silent, step back gracefully, and allow others the dignity of living their own journeys. Mistakes and all. Ninth is refusing to adapt or learn new things. This world refuses to pause its rapid evolution. For any of us, I've witnessed transformations I could scarcely have dreamed of in my youth. Advanced machines, glowing screens, entirely new ways of staying in touch. The urge to declare, "That's not for me, I'm too old," is understandable. Yet closing yourself off entirely also seals doors to meaningful connection. When my grandson first demonstrated video calling, I resisted stubbornly, insisting a regular phone call sufficed. His disappointed expression lingered with me, so I made the effort, fumbling at first, but persisting. Eventually, seeing his smiling face appear right there on the screen felt almost like having him beside me. Learning new skills doesn't reverse time or restore youth, but it powerfully sustains our bonds with loved ones and the wider world, something far more valuable than stubborn pride. The 10th habit is playing the victim. Loneliness cuts deeply. In later years, feeling overlooked or forgotten is a heavy burden many of us carry. It's tempting to voice repeatedly, "No one visits anymore. No one calls. Nobody truly cares." Sometimes those words even ring partially true, but dwelling in that space builds an invisible wall. Interactions start feeling weighted with blame, making it hard for others to approach warmly. There was a season when I sank into this myself. The days stretched long, and the house echoed with silence. I had nearly convinced myself I was abandoned. Then I chose differently. One simple call to an old friend, not to complain, but to inquire about his well-being. That small step sparked more connections, and the isolation slowly dissolved. Connection doesn't always arrive unbidden. Sometimes we must reach out first with open hearts. 11th is being financially controlling with money, especially within family circles. We naturally want to help, support, and feel needed. But when assistance arrives tied to expectations or conditions, spoken or unspoken, it shifts from love into pressure. I gave you this, so you should do that. Even without explicit words, the emotional strings are felt. Families have fractured not over money itself, but over the control, obligation, and guilt it represented. Genuine giving flows freely, without demanding thanks or repayment. If you cannot give in that spirit, it may be kinder to refrain, as relationships constructed on emotional debts seldom endure with strength and warmth. The 12th habit is stubbornly refusing help from others. On the surface, this appears as admirable strength, fierce independence, lifelong pride, and self-reliance. We've cherished these qualities through the decades. Yet clinging too rigidly can inadvertently create distance. When someone offers to help carry a load, drive you somewhere, or assist in any small way, and you decline every single time, you're not only safeguarding your autonomy, you're also gently refusing their desire to show care. And acts of caring are the very threads that weave stronger bonds between people. I used to reject help almost automatically, fearing weakness or becoming a burden. What I failed to see was how that choice widened gaps. One day, I accepted a small favor with groceries. Instead of diminishing me, it deepened the connection beautifully. Accepting help isn't surrendering independence, it's inviting closeness and mutual support. And finally, the 13th habit, the last but certainly not least, is losing your sense of humor. In old age, life accumulates serious weights, profound losses, persistent aches, and disappointments that can stack heavily upon the spirit. It's understandable how the gravity can overshadow everything. But when laughter, smiles, and lightness fade from your presence, people sense the heaviness. They no longer feel uplifted or drawn in. Instead, they feel pulled downward. I knew a remarkable woman, even older than myself, who had every justification for bitterness after many hardships. Yet she chose differently. She laughed freely, gently teased her own wrinkles and forgetful moments. Time spent with her never felt like a duty to visit an elderly person. It felt alive, vibrant, and joyful. That's the quiet power of humor. It doesn't erase life's difficulties, but it softens their edges and warmly invites others to remain by your side. Here we are, having reflected together on these 13 habits. None of them transform you into a bad person. None signify failure or a lack of love in your heart. They simply reveal our shared humanity. We are all imperfect, still learning and growing, no matter how many years we've gathered. I've spotted several of these patterns within my own life, and I continue working on them patiently, one step and one day at a time. That's more than sufficient. You don't need to overhaul your entire character in a single dramatic moment. Simply growing a bit more self-aware, gentler in your words, and more open to the present can profoundly shift how others experience your company. The atmosphere around you becomes lighter, warmer, and more inviting. If you've stayed with me through this entire reflection, I offer you my sincere thanks. It shows a beautiful willingness to look inward honestly, something far too many never attempt. If any part of this resonated in your heart, carry it with you. Ponder it softly in quiet moments. Perhaps even share these thoughts with someone you cherish. As for me, I'm merely an old man passing along the hard-earned lessons life has whispered over the decades. I'm still learning new things daily, still making adjustments, and still striving to be the kind of person others feel genuinely good being around. Take good care of yourself, my friend. Stay kind, stay open, and keep that inner light shining as brightly as you can. The world and your loved ones will notice the difference.